Am I cryptid?
Jasmine is cryptid. Today we are talking about Jasmine May With. How many frogmen has she seen?
Just one.
How many Thunderbirds?
We're taking it to the people on the street and we're asking them, how many Jasmine May Withs have you seen?
It can only be attributable to human error.
You're entering paranormal.
He meddled in things that you people. He meddled in things. He meddled in things.
Where will we go next? It's a phantom from another time.
No one, Mr. Mulder.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
That is one big pile of shit.
Hello, I'm Alex Daikaiju.
I'm Jasmine With.
I'm Eli Watson.
And you're listening to
Cryptid.
Campfire.
Woo! We're back, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Woo-hoo.
Today, I am joined by Jasmine May With and Alexander Daikaiju from Cryptid Campfire. Today, we'll be discussing the Dobhar-Chu.
Yeah, I've been pitching this guy for I don't even know how long. I bring him up in all the meetings. I'm like, yeah, let's do the Dobhar-Chu, and it never really makes the final cut. But today, he is the star.
I mean, think about it from our perspective, Jasmine. You say Dobhar-Chu, and I'm thinking Dobber, like a mispronunciation of Doberman, and Coup, like cool without the L, it's Coup, so it's a Doberman Coup, and I'm like, that doesn't sound interesting.
All you picture is Snoopy when he's got sunglasses on.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that is not what he is at all, and we will talk about exactly what he is in a little bit after we tell the people where we're traveling to today.
We're going to the Emerald Isle today, also known as Ireland.
Okay, I wasn't quite sure. I was like, is that another name for Ireland? But yes, we are going to Ireland, specifically lakes in Ireland. There's been a couple specific locations that things have happened, such as Shaheen's Loch, and stories come from Glenade in County Leitrim. Oh, and before we keep going, I wanted to mention this. So almost every single episode we do, we're always like, I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm not sure. I don't speak this language, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's going to be the case in this episode again, at least for me. But I wanted to say that I always try and figure out how to pronounce things properly. And in doing so, this time I would look up YouTube videos, and I would get frustrated because all of the videos I'd find under these names would have titles like 10 places to visit in blank or our trip to blank, but they never actually say the name of the location in the video because they're just instrumental compilations. But diving a little deeper, I did also learn that a lot of Irish locations have multiple spellings and anglicized pronunciations and spellings. So it's a little bit all over the place. We're going to do our best.
Yep.
Rightfully said. So, picking up with all the weird, wacky names we'll be mispronouncing throughout this episode. The legend and the star, the Dobhar-Chu, which also has, I don't know what, 10 to 15 other different names.
Yeah.
I didn't list them down. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, I got them. So, roughly translated, the word Dobhar-Chu actually means waterhound or hound of the deep, but it does go by many different names and pronunciations, including Dougaroo, Doraghower, Dobhar-Chu, the Irish crocodile, and King Otter.
Yeah, that's something else. I know you just brought up pronunciation, but Dobhar-Chu is not at all how it's pronounced as far as what I've read. I've read they don't really. It's almost like French, to where there's a bunch of letters in there, but you just ignore most of them. So I got the Dobhar-Chu as one of the top pronunciations. So I don't know how to say it. I might say Dobhar-Chu. I might say Dobhar-Chu.
Dobhar-Chu. I'm gonna be going with Dobhar-Chu because that's what I've been saying in my head.
Yeah,
Right,
I was
dude.
gonna say you do you look at that word and you take that B and you throw it as far as you can,
Yeah. And put a W there.
just for good measure.
Just
Sink
for
those
goodness.
teeth into those wubbies, if you will.
So when it comes to the physical description of this Dobhar-Chu creature, it varies, as do with most cryptids. There's a pretty basic belief of what it looks like. It's thought to be a cross between a giant otter and a hound, like dog type thing.
Half dog, half fish. The
Yeah.
dog.
That too. It's also described as a half dog, half fish hybrid with a long snaking body covered in thick fur. I got length being about 7 feet long. Did you guys get the same thing or did you guys get something different?
7 to 10. I
Mhm.
got.
Yeah, I got about 10. I one report even said about 12 feet, which is pretty
Whoa.
insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a depiction that because you mentioned it's some kind of a dog otter mix.
Yeah.
I had a description where it looked like a giant 12-foot otter with a white pelt,
Mm-hmm.
black ears,
Mm-hmm.
and the kicker being it had a big black cross on its back.
Yeah, I read the same thing. I think that comes from a book called Myth, Legend, and Romance, an encyclopedia of the Irish folk tradition.
Pause. All right, I'm
Someone's
good.
dying.
The Dobhar-Chu is attacking Eli.
All right, I'm good. Oh, sorry.
So yeah, so that description I think only stems from that one source, that one book, Myth, Legend, and Romance. But a lot of sources quote it, cite it on a lot of websites and things like that. One of the things that I found interesting when I was reading about the color is someone pointed out that the color pattern is similar to like skunks and badgers, which are usually like creatures that you don't want to be around because they'll attack you or something like that. So
And or
it's
throw a
just
whole lot of stink on you.
yeah. So it's
And
like
they're black and white, yes.
yeah, the universal
Brown.
warning for stay away. Witnesses have also said that it kind of looked like a wolf, but its face was more broad and flat, like an otter. Feet appear to be webbed. Some recall its feet being bright orange and back legs being larger than the front. Did you guys get anything else about the physical description?
I got it. It's the size of a crocodile.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But that's wonderfully vague because crocodiles vary
Yeah.
in size.
It's
But-
also go ahead.
What?
Sorry.
I was gonna say, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, well, adding on to you mentioned, reports say it's the size of a crocodile, which, is nice and varied. But not only do we have the vague toss of a dog and an otter, some say it's an otter and a crocodile mix.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
hence the name, right? Irish crocodile.
Well, actually, what I read about the Irish crocodile name is there haven't really been any descriptions of the creature having reptilian characteristics. It's mostly believed by people that the Dobhar-Chu's nickname, the Irish crocodile, comes from the accounts of its voracious appetite, lightning fast speed both in and out of water, and the claims that it could rip people's limbs clean off.
Yeah, like a crocodile.
Mm-hmm. But
And
it doesn't physically look like a crocodile.
I
No,
see.
that's why it's Irish. Did you guys get anything specific about the fur? I know we talked about color variations, but I'll just say it. This is my favorite part of the description. It has fur with protective properties.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of protective properties? There is no information provided. It's just protective.
Oh, really? No information
Yes.
provided.
No. Is it bulletproof?
Well,
it's laminated.
Is it cold proof? Does it stay warm in the winters?
It's cold pressed, actually.
Can you break a spear on its skin? Who knows? You know?
So I read that, well, first of all, protective qualities for the creature itself could just come from the fact that its coat is probably very dense. And so weapons from like the 16th century or whatever might not have been strong enough to, injure it. But I also read that the protective qualities actually come from owning a piece of the pelt. So, like, according to legend, an inch of the Dobhar-Chu's pelt would protect a ship from wrecking, a horse from injury, and a man from being wounded by gunshot or other means. So it's kind of like a good luck charm for people more than it is like protective qualities of the animal itself, I guess.
Or I guess, I mean, a small little piece of fur gets your whole ship safe. So a Dobhar-Chu full of the fur is
Yeah.
probably set for a lifetime.
That's true. I did think it was interesting though, because in some sources it says that the Dobhar-Chu is unkillable, which I guess you would want to believe if its pelt has protective qualities, but like most of the stories we're going to tell today, like the Dobhar-Chu does get killed, so
Ooh,
there's a little
spoiler
bit of
alert.
inconsistency there.
Well, maybe it's like a gremlin, except instead of water and it reproducing, it's the blood of a Dobhar-Chu. When it gets on the fur, it produces more Dobhar-Chus.
Well, I suppose that is a possibility, but did you know that they also are known to travel in pairs?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But that doesn't mean anything.
Well, actually, it means a lot, my friend, because
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And
because you,
please
you
enlighten.
thought one 12-foot crocodile otter was bad. Wait till you get two of them in the same area. They stink up the joint, and if you do get lucky to kill one, it'll emit this blood-curdling scream that can be heard across all the coasts of
Mhm.
Ireland.
Yeah.
And that cry will go into the ears of its mate, whose eyes will turn blood red and will have vengeance for whoever killed its mate. And they say it can't be stopped until it's kept and killed its foe.
Mostly true. I don't think the Dobhar-Chu actually has any stinky qualities. I mentioned a skunk, but I don't think it stinks itself. But yes, that is true that when it is in pain and when it is about to die, it gives off an eerie, high-pitched whistle to call out to its mate, and then its mate will emerge from the depths of the water and avenge its partner by pursuing its attacker, killing them and often eating them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. In all seriousness, though, if we're talking about this as a cryptid or a biological animal, this raises some eyebrows, because does this mean that the Dobhar-Chu could be mating for life?
You mean like a normal otter does sometimes?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's part of why some people think that this creature is a little bit more believable than others, because there is a lot about the Dobhar-Chu that lines up with facts about just regular otters, such
Mhm.
as the fact that some species of otters will mate for life, and so traveling in pairs makes sense. It also, like a regular otter, also communicates with a variety of chirps and whistles. So that again lines up with the stories of when it shrieks for its partner. And I have seen a couple videos online of otters being very territorial. So attacking people, though a current day otter might not be able to kill somebody, they are pretty vicious,
Mhm.
or they can be pretty vicious.
Well,
And
all the otters listening to this podcast are gonna hear Jasmine stare and are now gonna be trying to kill people. So everyone just look out.
it's the otters are getting together. They say those humans have had it too good for too long. It's time we're top of the food chain, baby. And adding to the since we mentioned as a biological creature that could exist, you say, well, you know, a animal killing for revenge for the death of its mate, that's crazy talk. But this is honeybees. if a honeybee stings you, it dies in the process because the stinger gets removed.
Mm-hmm.
But it releases a pheromone into the area where any other honeybees within about, I don't know, 10 to 15 feet will pick up on it and just start attacking whatever their previous friend died fighting.
I thought wolves displayed the same thing as well.
They
If
do.
you kill one of their
Mhm.
pack, the rest will come and get you.
They'll go, full on bloodthirsty. Which
Yeah,
the Dobhar-Chu has been described as. I saw the word bloodthirsty appear at least 4 to 5 times
Yeah.
throughout my research.
yeah. Did you know that the bloodthirsty Dobhar-Chu is actually bloodthirsty?
Did you know the Dobhar-Chu just can't not have human blood in its mouth at any given time?
I found another interesting fact, legend, myth. I don't know. I don't know if you can really call it a fact. I only found it from one source, but apparently that book that I've already mentioned, Myth, Legend, and Romance, it also compares the Dobhar-Chu to the werewolf mythos, saying that it can only be killed with a silver bullet and that the killer would then also die within 24 hours of the act. However, again, this belief is not consistent with some of the stories we're going to tell today. So,
Mhm.
inconsistent, contradicting. Can it be killed? Can it not be killed? We'll find out, maybe.
Oh, I have some interesting facts about the words Dobhar-Chu. It's actually the modern day word for otter. Dobhar-Chu is. And Dobhar is an old, or Dohar, or however you say it, is an old form of the word water, although it is rarely used today. And Cu is hound in Irish. So yes, just to echo what Jasmine said in the very beginning of the episode, means water hound. But I thought it was interesting that Dobhar-Chu is the modern day word for otter, and we're
Mhm.
talking about the king of all otters.
Do you mean, when you say modern day word, do you mean like in Ireland?
Yeah, in the
Okay.
Irish language.
No,
Gotcha.
globally, what do you call Dobhar-Chus? Otters?
Yeah.
Like a crazy person?
So are we getting into different legends now?
Yeah. Do you have more?
I have a concurrent Scottish legend.
Okay, yeah, if it's a legend, go for it. I've already said all the legends that I have.
Oh, okay. Well, because a Dobhar-Chu-like creature is not exclusive to the world, or exclusive
You mean it's
to
on other
Ireland.
planets?
Yeah, dude. In Martian mythology, no, I'm joking.
In the
So
original manuscript for War of the Worlds, it was otters that came down from Mars.
New
yeah,
theory, Dobhar-Chu are extraterrestrials.
yeah. So in Hebridean folklore, or folklore relating to the Hebrides, which is a Scottish archipelago, they have a legend that mentions the king of the otters, and wearing its fur will ensure victory in battle. And it also has a white spot on its chest. And I
Yes.
thought that was really interesting. Goes along with the Dobhar-Chu, with its protective properties.
Mm-hmm.
And you think the king otter has a little crown that he wears?
Yeah,
Made,
it's formed
made
out
out
of.
of like seashells, some seaweed, and the bones of his enemies.
Yep. Oh yeah. All the little otters that got into his way, smashed them and took their little shin bones,
Smash
formed a
them
little
to
crown.
atoms.
Smashed them to atoms, dude. R.I.P. Stefan, aka FYA, FYI, PhD.
For clarity, Stefan is not dead.
Hey, Stefan's moved to the great beyond. The great
No.
beyond of Cape Cod. Come on, join your friends. It's a lifetime of joy in a few days.
So what do you guys have for the earliest sighting? Like, what's the furthest back of a date that you could find?
All right, so this is where it gets interesting. I got 1684 but
Yes,
but I didn't get any reports from 1684. I just read online. It said reports go back to 1684. No further information provided.
They just do. Take our word for it.
Well, let me provide you with that information then, my friends.
Dude, lay it down.
Okay, so one of the earliest written accounts of a Dobhar-Chu attack appears in what's called A Description of West Connaught, written by Roderick O'Flaherty and published in 1684. And this is what the excerpt says. And I'm going to read it exactly how I found it on the website. It does have a couple of words that, we would consider incorrect, but it's like written in the dialect of an Irish speaker. I'm not going to try an accent or anything like that. I'm just going to read what it says. So, a man was passing the shore just by the waterside, and spied far off the head of a beast swimming, which he took to have been an otter, and took no more notice of it. But the beast, it seems there, lifted up his head to discern whereabouts the man was. Then, diving, swum under water till he struck ground, whereupon he runned out of the water suddenly, and took the man by the elbow, whereby the man stooped down, and the beast fastened his teeth in his pate, which I found a word for head, and dragged him into the water, where the man took hold on a stone by chance in his way, and calling to mind he had a knife in his pocket, took it out, and gave a thrust of it to the beast, which thereupon got away from him into the lake. The water about him was all bloody, whether from the beast's blood or his own, or from both, he knows not.
Whoa.
That's intense.
Yeah, this account also states that the creature appeared to have slimy black skin with no hair, but it is possible that that was just an assumption and that the creature really did have short hair, which when wet adhered so closely to its body that it seemed to the victim to be shiny and hairless, which is kind of consistent with, again, the appearance of normal otters. Like, if you look at them from far away, it doesn't look like they're furry because they're wet most of the time. So you slick that back, it just looks like black, shiny skin.
Mm-hmm. And that was, you said, 1685 or 84?
1684 is when it was published, yeah.
Interesting. So it came out of the water and attacked the guy, but he was able to fight it off.
Mm-hmm.
And did you say, did you know if he killed it, or did it just, retreat after he stabbed it?
That much I don't know. The end of the story, unless I missed something, which is possible, I could have maybe skimmed too quickly. But from what I understood, there was no definite, oh, he killed it, or oh, it got away. It just kind of ends with there was blood everywhere.
Crazy. It's interesting that it bit him on the elbow.
Yeah, and then was somehow able to pull him down and chomp on his head.
Yeah. So I guess, Eli, you could go back to your sources that said, oh, in 1684, reports happened, but they didn't specify.
Yeah.
So you can go back and write 1684, Ireland, man bitten on weenus by Dobhar-Chu.
Yeah, I guess that's true, huh? Man bitten on weenus.
That is the earliest that I could find, and I wasn't able to find anything else until 1722, which is known as the most famous sighting, if you guys want to tell that story.
Ooh, yeah.
1722.
For September 22nd. That's a good one. It's,
I have a really fun way of telling this story, if you guys don't. Okay.
Yeah, you can totally tell it. But before we do that, just notes for us. There are a lot of different variations of the story.
Oh yes. So I take into account all of the versions are in this one.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. They're not.
Oh no. Okay. Well then.
This is
I'll
one
probably
version.
Just mention them when you're done then.
Yeah, I have notes on the others as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So we begin our tale. Alex, you said this was September 22nd? 1722. Correct. We begin in Glenade. I almost want to say Glendale.
Dude, me too, no joke. Every time I read it, I'm like, Glendale Lake.
No, it's Glenade. in County Leitrim, and there's a headstone in Conwell Cemetery.
Man, you're jumping to the end.
No, I'm not. Just wait for it. This is great. So on this headstone is a depiction of a creature. It is believed that this headstone belongs to a woman who was killed by none other than a Dobhar-Chu. The story goes as follows. Her husband heard a scream as she was washing clothes at Glendale, just so I get it out of my system, Glenade Low, which is the Irish form of lock. And he came to her rescue, but alas, he was too late. The Dobhar-Chu was upon her bloodied and mangled body. The man, in his anger, stabbed the Dobhar-Chu through the heart, killing it. It whistled as it died, and its mate arose from the low. He attempted to run, but it quickly caught up to him. Man and beast fought, drawing blood from each other, each blow more savage than the last, but only one remained. And the man was able to pick up his wife's body and place her at rest in Conwell Cemetery.
Wow.
Well, that is a version.
It is a version. There's so many different ones.
I was gonna say that that's kind of a cool version. It's a little bit of revenge. Is a dish best served cold.
Well,
like
what
steel
version?
blade.
What version of the story do you have, Alex?
Ooh, let me tell you. So, September 22nd, 1722. There's a lady doing her laundry by a lake. She's there. She's washing her underwears, her socks. When suddenly out of the water comes a giant otter-looking creature that rips her to pieces.
Aye.
Her screams are heard all throughout the town as she's mangled. Her husband, worried, he runs down to the lake to find her body. Broken, bitten, chewed through. Heartbroken and enraged, he jumps on his horse and he starts on the trail of the monster that killed his wife. He follows it for miles upon miles till he has to stop because his horse needs to re-shoe. Got to put new metal on the horse's hooves. And as he's getting it done, the blacksmith is an old man. He's been doing the craft for about 60 years or so. Started at the age of 13, day in, day out.
Okay, now you're taking creative liberties.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me for trying to enhance the story. But the old blacksmith, he says, "Son, what are you doing? Why you traveling this horse so hard?" He says, "I'm trying to kill a beast." And the man says, "What kind of beast?" And the guy describes it. And the blacksmith silently walks into the next room, comes back out, and hands him a sword. But not just any sword. It's a special one that's been made. And the man says one thing. When the creature charges, he'll put his head through horse. As soon as he does this, you be quick and cut his head off. So the man silently takes the sword, travels his horse to where the den of the Dobhar-Chu is. They square off. The creature charges, and it sticks its head right through the guy's horse, right through its chest cavity.
What?
And as it does that, the man jumps off, and with his sword, he cuts off the head of the Dobhar-Chu, still entombed in the horse's body.
Okay.
Grabbing the head, he throws into the lake, and he screams, "As God is my witness, I will destroy all Dobhar-Chus to avenge my wife."
Wow, dude. That's
all right.
pretty epic.
So that was a very colorful version of the story.
I want that movie now.
Yeah, and I want Channing Tatum to play the husband.
That was mostly consistent with how the legend goes, but I think Alex had a little fun there too.
The blacksmith who just has a sword ready to kill Dobhar-Chus off to the side. There's a story there that needs to be told.
There is.
Dude, now we're exploring the entire greater Dobhar-Chu universe.
Well, I have essentially the same story with some extra details as well. First and foremost, the main story is woman gets killed by Dobhar-Chu, husband slays Dobhar-Chu, but there's lots of variations of the order of events and details of events. So this is the stuff that
Like
I found.
sometimes the man kills the Dobhar-Chu and then the Dobhar-Chu kills his wife. I mean,
I mean, sometimes the man is married to a Dobhar-Chu.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I don't know if either of you actually said this, but the woman does have a name. Her name
Yep.
is Grace McLaughlin,
Oh.
also known as Grain or Grainy. I'm not sure on the pronunciation. But
may I add?
Yeah.
I got her last name was Connolly.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's her maiden name, which customary was to keep after marriage.
Got
So
it.
Grace McLaughlin / Connolly, she went down to the lake to bathe and or wash some clothes as it goes. Her husband noticed that she was gone for a really long time. His name is either Ter or Terrence, something along those lines.
Mhm.
And he found her completely disemboweled by the beast, which was taking a nap across her dead body. um,
Talk
some
about a
say
my pillow.
some say that Terrence took his dagger and killed the monster right then and there, and then others say he ran home to get his rifle and then came back to shoot the creature. Whichever weapon he used, as you guys have said, when the Dobhar-Chu was dying, it let out a scream and its, mate popped up from the water, which then started chasing him. And then, depending on the story, he either already had his horse with him or he went to go get his horse. And some versions say that there was somebody else with him who accompanied him. Like when he ran back to get his shotgun or whatever, he took someone else with him. And so, either way, the Dobhar-Chu chased him while he rode away on his horse, which I don't know if this was something that you added or not, Alex, but you said that he chased the Dobhar-Chu.
Mhm.
But the versions that I've read said that the Dobhar-Chu was chasing him and he would
Yeah.
escape. Because
Interesting.
again, there's two. So he killed the one that killed his wife already, and then because he killed that Dobhar-Chu, its mate was trying to kill Terrence. So
Right.
he rode on his horse to try and escape, all while the Dobhar-Chu was shrieking and making lots of noise and whatever. And then I've got, according to Patrick Doherty of Glenade, local lore records that the case, which started at Frank McSherry's of Glenade, faltered at Cashlegarin Stone Fort when Terrence was forced to stop with the blacksmith there to, as you guys said, replace the horse's horseshoe.
Mhm.
And then I guess I just assumed I knew what it meant when it said the Dobhar-Chu would go through the horse, because when I typed my notes, I was like, yeah, the blacksmith gave Terrence a sword and told him when the creature charges the horse, he'll put his head through blah blah blah. And I was like, oh yeah, he'll put his head through the legs of the horse. Like that makes sense. But
No.
then you told the story and I was like, wait, is that what it's supposed to be? Like the Dobhar-Chu
Mhm.
Yeah.
literally shoots himself through the horse?
Yeah.
Anyway.
The horse dies in every version.
Yeah.
Poor
So
horse.
I was like, okay. But yeah, cuts his head off, killing it instantly, whatever. But fun fact, Cashlegarin Stone Fort still stands today. And now that Alex has told his version of the story, this note that I took makes more sense because it really confused me. But supposedly, both the Dobhar-Chu and the horse are buried in County Sligo, not far from Cashlegarin Stone Fort, where they were both killed. And I have a
Mhm.
little parentheses here, and I was like, I don't understand why it says this because the horse doesn't die. I'm confused. But now I've been enlightened. And in some versions of this story, the Dobhar-Chu that pursues Terrence is described as having a single horn in the center of its forehead. And so that is, I guess, what helps it, impale the horse and shoot through
Yeah,
its
I know,
chest or
right?
whatever.
That takes a lot of force to just shove your round head through a horse, right?
Yeah, but I
Mhm.
guess it makes sense. He really did shoot through the horse, then I guess he would have a horn. That makes sense. I feel things make more sense right now. Even though it's harder to believe, it makes more sense.
Well, I have a slightly varied version of the story yet again, if I may share.
You may.
So the man kills the Dobhar-Chu, its mate rises up, and as it's rising up, it scares his horse all the way to another town, presumably with him atop of it. Because again, the same maneuver happens where the Dobhar-Chu shoves its head through the horse and he chops its head off. This time, no blacksmith is involved. But the man not only kills the second Dobhar-Chu, but it also kills its offspring. And then they named the town Garanard, which means bad horse.
The horse was pregnant?
No, he kills the Dobhar-Chu's offspring.
Oh, I see.
He comes back into town, covered in blood. He's got like a broken sword in his hand. It's just like, I did it. I killed them. I killed them all. The men, the women, the children.
Well,
Saw them all like animals.
Well, since we're getting real gory, did you guys happen to come across the 16 stanza long poem about this story?
Yes, called Dobhar-Chu of Glenade Lake.
By
Maybe?
T.S. Eliot.
That's what it's called.
There's two poems. So the poem that I read said that it doesn't have a title, but there's also another poem called The Old House, which is it tells the story of the Dobhar-Chu that out from Glenade Lake had come one morning years ago a woman's life to take. But like I said, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does have a title. The one that I'm thinking of.
The 16-verse poem?
Yeah.
It's written by an anonymous author. Probably does not have a title, but they just called it The Dobhar-Chu of Glenade Lake because it's easier to say than, hey, you know that one 16-verse poem that doesn't have a name or an author?
Yeah.
They're like, what?
The website.
You know that untitled poem?
The website I read it from, it's got a little paragraph about the author, which I think is really funny. This is what it says. It says, the words of the ballad, skillfully put together by a hedge schoolmaster of the time, bring the story vividly to life. The scribe's name is lost to us, and the circumstances of his existence, but his voice speaks eloquently across the centuries today, as clearly as if the words were penned yesterday. They are and enduring tribute to the event and to the poet's genius. So this guy was a fan.
Jeez, and who knows what else he wrote.
Yeah, I know. But because the poem is 16 stanzas long, obviously we're not going to read it, but I kind of wanted to share the best parts.
Dang, whoa, yeah.
Yeah, tell us. It's Cryptid Campfire Poetry Corner.
Yeah, so again, the poem basically just says everything that we just said, all the different, versions of whatever the story is. But the verses where it talks about Grace being dead is super colorful. It says, she, having gone to bathe, it seems, within the water clear, and not having returned when she might, her husband, fraught with fear, hasting to where he her might find, when, oh, to his surprise, her mangled form, still bleeding warm, lay stretched before his eyes. Upon her bosom, snow white once, but now besmeared with gore, the Dobhar-Chu reposing was, his surfeiting being o'er. Her bowels and entrails all around, tinged with a reddish hue. O God, he cried, 'tis hard to bear, but what am I to do?
Dang, dude, savage.
Woohoo!
It's pretty legit.
Yeah. Beat that, Shakespeare.
Did you guys get a date for the poem? I have people saying that it may be from around the 1920s, but being from an anonymous author, we really don't have any way of knowing.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, we could put any year we want to it. It was from 725, actually.
That is not how history works.
They were real advanced with the poetry before the Bronze Age collapse.
I mean, I'm gonna I'm gonna have to agree with Alex on this. I mean, that's the only logical conclusion. 725.
They all talk old
What'd you
timey
say,
like.
Jasmine? You said something reasonable like the 1920s?
Yeah,
Jeez, Jasmine, you're crazy.
I know. But I mean, Eli started off this story talking about the gravestone. I don't know how much research you guys did into that, but we can talk about the gravestone itself for a little bit if you want.
Yes, you already described the husband's gravestone, right?
No, I mentioned that the Dobhar-Chu and the horse were buried in Cashel-Garin, where the chase
Oh,
ended.
well, there's actually a headstone for that as well.
Yeah, I was a little confused when reading about this. Why don't you tell me what you found, and then I'll tell you why I'm confused.
The husband's grave is in Kilrusk and commemorates him and the horse. It's a nice little picture of him atop his horse. An engraving, so not like quite a picture, but you get the sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't really know about that. Is that all the information you have on it? Is just
Yeah.
where it is? Okay,
Yeah,
so
and what it looks like.
okay, cool. So let's talk about Grace's headstone, and then we'll come back to Terrence's, and I'll talk about why I'm a little bit confused about where people get the idea that that's whose gravestone it is. Um, so Grace Connolly does have a headstone in Conwall Cemetery, which is also known as Cornwall Cemetery, also known as Caldwell Cemetery. It's got like 3 different names, whatever. And it's also in County Leitrim. And the most information that I found about this headstone came from a 1948 article. The author had seen the headstone for the first time in 1935 and then went back to see it again in 1948 and talked about how over time the sharpness of it has faded and it's been a little, it's a little harder to make out. So just like imagine what it looks like now. You probably can't see anything. Did you guys, I know I'm talking a lot, so did one of you want to tell the story about the headstone, or do you have that information in the details about it before I start going?
No, go. It's a podcast.
Okay. So, like I said, this guy saw it for the first time in 1935 and then came back in 1948. And this is what I read about it. It's dated September 24th, 1722, which I think is interesting because we talked about Grace's story happening on September 22nd, but 2 days is 2 days, whatever. As long as the year is consistent, it makes a little sense. So 1722, the monument is a recumbent, which means lying close to the ground, flag of sandstone, about 4 feet and 6 inches by 1 foot and 10 inches. Bedding plane has now come loose as of 1948, splitting the slab into 2 thin sheets. And in this vulnerable condition, the 2 bottom corners of the front have already been broken off, though still in place. On the gravestone is an image of what's believed to be the Dobhar-Chu being slayed by the hand of Terrence. So the carved figure, so picture it, it's this big stone, and a section of the stone has a panel with a carving in it. The carved figure is set in a panel about 17.5 inches by 7 inches. It shows an animal having the body and legs like those of a dog, with the characteristic depth of rib and strength of thigh. The tail, long and curved, shows a definite tuft. The rear of the haunch and still more the tail are in exceptionally low relief. Relief meaning the state of being clearly visible or obvious due to being accentuated in some way. So it's just a fancy way of saying it's faded. So far, the description of the creature is canine. The paws, however, appear unusually large, while the long, heavy neck and the short head into which it shades off, together with the tiny ears, are all like those of an otter or such carnivorous mammal. The head and neck are bent backwards to lie flat on the animal's backbone. A human right hand, clenched with the fingers facing the spectator, is shown holding a weapon which has entered the base of the neck and reappears below the body in a short stem which suddenly enlarges to finish as a barb. So that sounds like a lot of detail for an image that you can Google and look at, which you can kind of like make your own judgments about whether that's what you see.
Mhm.
After I read the description, well, I looked at the picture first and I was like, how the frick are you supposed to say that that's a Dobhar-Chu? Because it looks nothing like any type of animal. But I wasn't orienting my sight the right way. So once I read that description, I looked at it again and I was kind of like, oh, I see it now.
Hmm.
Um,
Like a magic eye picture.
yeah. So it's assumed that this stone was sculptured while the woman's death was still fresh in human memory because similar tombstones and raised lettering in this same cemetery are all characteristic of the period of, the 1720s to the 1760s. So Grace was a real person. This grave really does exist with this image of a Dobhar-Chu. And this is why a lot of people, this is like the tangible evidence that people have to say that this creature is real. It's like, look, someone really died because of it. So now, if we talk about the second headstone that Eli mentioned, it is in Kilrusk, like he said, which is on the southern entrance of Glenade. This tombstone apparently is now broken and lost completely. Like you can't find it, it's not there, but its existence is vouched for by the unanimous testimony of all the old men that live there and were interviewed by this guy who went to visit the cemeteries that I've been talking about. They remember it as being just south of the little mortuary chapel, which is still standing. They said a gravestone with an animal of some kind carved on it, and everyone called it the Dobhar-Chu stone. When asked if the animal looked anything like a dog, one man said he thought it looked more like a horse, as Eli said. But somewhere between 1914 and 1918, it was still there, but it was fractured down the center. So here's, people believe that this tomb is to commemorate her husband Terence because it's got this image of a horse and whatever. But I don't understand where anyone gets the idea that these two things are related. Like, I'm sure there were plenty of people who passed away that had horses that were commemorated on their headstones. Like, plus they're in two completely different cemeteries. So I don't understand why people are like, oh yeah, this chick, she got killed by a Dobhar-Chu and she's buried over in this cemetery, but her husband is buried in that cemetery and his headstone just has a picture of his horse on it. Like,
Well, wouldn't their names be on the headstones?
well, that's the thing. I don't know if I know Grace's name is on her headstone, but I can't remember if Terrence's name is on the headstone. Let me look. I think I took a picture in my notes.
I mean, it is a little awkward that they were married. Tragically, she passed away, and now they're buried in completely different towns.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, let me put it this way. I mean, 1722, I mean, how frequent was it that a man would lose a wife and then get remarried?
yeah.
It was
I mean, it would,
pretty frequent back then.
you have to
So-
take into account how many Dobhar-Chus are in the area.
I get
Well, I
the
mean, a woman could die in childbirth or something, which was a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
mean,
more.
a Dobhar-Chu could crawl through the window and kill her during childbirth. They just get everywhere. You never know.
I feel like if his name was on the headstone, I would have written it down, and I didn't. I could be wrong. Again, I could have missed something while I was reading. I don't know if his stone has his name on it. I know that Grace's stone also has his name on it because it says, Grace Connolly, wife to Terrence McLaughlin, who died the 24th of September. Yeah. So I don't know. It could be. I just think it's weird that they're like, yeah, this horse thing here, yeah, that's the guy who killed a Dobhar-Chu.
It's gotta be his name's on it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotta be.
Yeah, but we don't know. We don't know anymore because it's not there anymore. It's been destroyed. It's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's not
And-
there anymore, but
It's
I
not
mean,
there anymore.
the
And you
reason
never know.
someone attributed it was probably because his name was on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all I'm saying. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, who knows if on his deathbed he's like, "Hey guys, whatever you do, don't put a horse on my tombstone. I'm not a
And
big
don't
fan
put me
of
next
them."
to my wife.
Yeah, and they're like, huh, "Look at this guy. We're gonna put a horse on his tombstone. He'll be a real kicker." It's the 17th century Ireland. TV hasn't been invented yet.
So did you guys get any more sightings?
Yeah. 1968.
Anything before that? I'll
Oh,
take
wait.
that as a no.
Yes, I did. 1896.
Okay. Okay.
In the 1896 edition of the Journal of Royal Society of Antiquaries of Ireland, written by a Miss Walkington, there is a description of a half-wolf, half-fish-like creature. Is that correct?
Yeah, from what I read, she didn't see anything herself. She heard the story of Grace and then was reaching out to other people to see if they knew anything about the Dobhar-Chu. It was
Yes.
basically like her Facebook status. She was like, "Hey guys, I heard about this thing. Does anyone know anything?" And she published it in this this journal.
Yeah. The second version of the story I told of the horse being scared away to a second town and the town being renamed Bad Horse is actually from Miss Walkington's version of the event. So, but I got that a few months after I believe this edition was published. A Mr. H. Chichester. Whoa, sorry, there's more to his name. Mr. H. Chichester Hart
Yeah.
responded to Miss Walkington's letter in which he'd heard rumors of the Dobhar-Chu, king of all lakes and father of all otters.
Yep.
And I didn't get what Mr. Chichester Hart said.
It was pretty just general. It was kind of him being like, "Yeah, I've heard of that." He said, "I have heard at Ballyshannon, a few miles from Bundoran, the following account of the Dorighow, as it is pronounced in that district. He was the king of all the lakes and father of all the otters. He can run his muzzle through the rocks. He was as big as 5 or 6 otters, but my informant thought he was long dead."
His informant.
Yeah, whoever he got the information from.
Well, we can
the
explore
Dobhar-Chu.
this in the Dobhar-Chu cinematic universe.
You
Is
know
that
who
going to be a thing now?
you know who the informant could have been?
The blacksmith?
No, Indrid Cold.
Oh my.
Whoa. And then it connects. It connects.
King of the Otters meet King of the Mothmen.
Was that all for Miss Walkington?
I think so.
So I have something from 1968.
Wait, I have something from 1959. So this account comes from a book called The Anatomy of Puck, an examination of fairy beliefs among Shakespeare's contemporaries and successors, written in 1959 by Catherine M. Briggs. She again refers to the Dobhar-Chu as Master or King Otter. And from the sources that I found, because I didn't have access to that book specifically, Google Books is actually really useful because a lot of the times you can just look at PDF documents of full books, but this one wasn't available, so I wasn't able to go to the direct source. But apparently in this, she says that the Dobhar-Chu is larger than normal otters, obviously, but she said it once appeared at Dew Hill with about 100 other common-sized otters in attendance. So, like, literally King Otter. Like, here I am, I'm the king, you are all my subjects type thing. However, I wasn't able to actually locate Dew Hill. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying that my internet skills did not help me out. It's spelled DHU Hill. I couldn't find where it's supposed to be. I couldn't find anything else that had any details about this story specifically, so I don't know how much truth there is to it. If I could get my hands on that book, then I might know a little bit more, but it was just kind of a brief mention in the sources that I came across.
Oh, is that all for that one?
Yep.
Oh. Does anyone have anything in between 1959 and 1968? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
No.
Okay, all right. So 1968, May 1st, in the evening. John Cooney and Michael McNulty are enjoying their drive back home past the lake. I didn't get what lake it was.
It's Shaheen's Lock.
There you go. On their way home, when a creature, dark brown in color and shiny, was clearly illuminated in their headlights. It raced across the road before them and vanished into the foliage. They estimated it was about 2.5 feet in height and roughly 8 to 10 feet long, and that includes the neck through to the sturdy tail, as they called it. And they described the head as a greyhound's or a sheep. And it has 4 well-built legs that rocked side to side as it ran. Or I guess it rocked side to side as it ran. You can kind of get that idea. I know some like smaller animals kind of do that weird little waddle thing.
Wiggle butt.
Yeah.
It was strutting across the road.
Yep.
Yeah, this was in County Sligo at Shaheen's Lock or Lough, however you want to say it, lake. I also am not 100% sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's spelled S-R-A... No, Shaheen's.
Oh.
It's spelled S-R-A-H-E-E-N-S. And I think I saw a couple people on some YouTube videos say Shaheen's, so that's what I'm saying.
Strahinis.
It's pronounced lake.
Is that the only sighting that you got at that lake?
No, there was one shortly after, but I did not get the notes on that.
So only a week later after that, a similar beast, the same beast, the beast that looks like that beast, whatever, it came out of the lake as a 15-year-old boy was riding his bike by it. He said it seemed to be much bigger than a horse, which I thought sounded weird. And if he's talking height, then that's like way off. But if he's talking length, then it still kind of makes sense because an average horse is only about 8 feet long. So that kind of matches up with the stories of the Dobhar-Chu. But if you're trying to tell me that like the Dobhar-Chu is like 6 or 7 feet tall, then it's going to be a little bit more intimidating. But it was black in color with a sheep-like head, long neck, tail, and 4 legs, of which the hind pair were larger. And then there were a couple other reported sightings in that period, but the identity of the animal was never ascertained. However, there was an artist's reconstruction of the monster that was made and appeared in an article about Irish lake monsters written by Janet and Colin Board in the 1980s. So the illustration was based on the eyewitness accounts, but it also looks exceedingly similar to Grace's gravestone depiction of the Dobhar-Chu, apparently. Talking about this lake specifically, there have been people to point out that the lake is only 1,200 feet in circumference. So I guess it's on the smaller side for a lake. And they say that this is too small to have any type of water monsters in it. But then, people who support the belief of the Dobhar-Chu are like, well, don't you know anything that can run across roads on 4 sturdy limbs is equally capable of moving from one lake to another and not residing permanently in any one body of water. And the Dobhar-Chu is known to be extremely fast on land and in water, so they say it's possible that, the Dobhar-Chu is just lake jumping or whatever, and it would explain why the sightings are more sporadic rather than regular. But there are people who believe that a small population of Dobhar-Chu live in Shaheen's Lock. But again, it is mostly believed that they're migratory.
Yes. They migrate south for the winter to Mexico. Did anyone get any other further sightings?
Yes.
We traveling to this century?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, let me throw this out there real quick because I saw some crackpot theory on the internet.
I think I know where you're going. I think I know where you're going with this.
Maybe. It connects the legend of the Dobhar-Chu to the lake monster Bessie.
Mm-hmm. And Nessie. And Nessie.
And yeah. And To me, it don't make no sense, but
No, it really doesn't. They try to claim that the Dobhar-Chu is like the teenage or immature version of like a Loch Ness type monster.
it's like
Doesn't make
clearly
any
it's
sense.
not. It's clearly not because it looks completely different.
Yeah.
So
And also, if it was, then wouldn't it eventually grow into something bigger? Like, wouldn't they be seeing Loch Ness monsters in Lake Shaheen? You know,
Well,
that kind of thing?
well, we don't know like the lifespan of how they grow and change because you guys were talking about there's the legend that in the 17th century Saint Columba
Mm-hmm.
he warded off the Loch Ness monster with the sign of the cross while he was ministering over in Ireland
Yeah,
or in
spiritual
Scotland. I'm sorry, he was in
powers.
Scotland. Huh?
Spiritual powers.
Yeah,
yeah.
so he scared off the beast, and so they say, "Oh well, it had a bunch of babies, and once you know it, those babies got loose, and they're all over the place, and they're still mad about what happened in the 7th century." And you
Yeah.
say that's crazy, but if I may, I'll just drop this here. You look at an otter, you extend its neck a little bit more, you make its body a little more hunched, and you take off that fur. Could look like a plesiosaur.
I don't know.
Just
Yeah,
saying.
Like a bit of a stretch, but I
I'd
am
like their
glad that you
necks
brought
stretch
up.
out.
I am glad that you brought up Columba because that's kind of we probably looked at the same source unless you just know this already. But the source that I read mentions something about Saint Columba's actions having to do with Nessie's offspring coming to the lakes and all that other stuff too.
Yeah.
But
I was like, that's a new one.
yeah, it's very new. And then
that's why we're setting up the Dobhar-Chu cinematic universe.
yeah. And then they try to connect it to Bessie too, and I'm like, this doesn't. I don't like the sentences they write. Literally have no connection to each other. I'm like, you're just stating facts. There's no relation. Anyways,
and they say that sometimes Dobhar-Chus, if they go higher up on the mountains, they stretch out longer and take on more cat-like and become tonsil worms.
they're all
Dude,
related.
how many movies we got in the Dobhar-Chu cinematic universe? 4?
4
5?
going on 5, 6. Wait till you see what's in stage 4.
Yeah, dude. Just wait. This is just phase 1. This is phase 1.
So I had one more major sighting from the early 2000s. Did you guys read about that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Do one of you want to tell it?
It was let me see if I can get this guy, the guy and his wife. Let me see if I can get their names. You said in the year 2000.
I also got 2003.
Yeah, I read that too. So
here we
some
go.
sources say it was the year 2000, others say 2003, so I just said early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it says as recently as 2000, Irish artist Sean Cochran and his wife claimed to have witnessed a sighting of the Dobhar-Chu on a lake in Omagh Island in Connemara, County Galway.
Mm-hmm.
He described it as large, dark, with orange flippers. The creature swam width of the lake from west to east in what seemed like a matter of a few seconds. He finally concluded that it leapt onto a huge boulder. Before disappearing, it gave out a most haunting screech.
Yup.
So, who knows? Maybe someone had killed a Dobhar-Chu in the area.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Did you get... I'm sorry, I kind of blanked there. Did you get the colors?
Yeah.
Just dark, but with like orange flippers, he said.
Got it. Yeah.
I wonder if it was... Because don't they have puffins in Ireland? That I think are the same
I
color
have
scheme.
no idea.
I don't know, dude. You're the master of the fauna and flora of Ireland, so why don't you tell us?
Oh, it's coming back to me. There's little penguins, little puffins.
Mhm.
They're about, I don't know, a foot to 2 feet tall maybe, and they waddle around. And they're all cute. And
Yeah.
then there's the mega puffins, and they're 8 feet tall, and they've been known to rip a man to shreds in less than 10 seconds.
Oh my.
Yeah, you see, Jasmine, there's always 2 kinds of every animal.
I
There's
guess.
there's the regular animal and then the giant version of that animal.
Yeah. Well, you know that a giant otter did exist about 6 million years ago, right?
In China.
Don't say it like that. Please don't say it like that.
It existed in China, though.
It did.
Was it the I'm going to attempt to say the name, the Sayamo Gali Mililutra.
It's Simagale meat. Now
Oh.
I'm messing up. I found a YouTube video of the scientist who did this discovery, and she says Simagale Mililutra.
Close enough. The Sayamo Gali Mililutra,
Yeah.
the giant prehistoric otter, and it was known to eat cavemen and fight dinosaurs.
Yep.
No. No.
That's not what you got?
No. So first of all, the reason that we know about this animal is because in 2010, a team of scientists discovered a well-preserved cranium of the species in an open lignite mine in China's Yunnan province. And then in 2017 is when they made these publications about it.
What did you just say to me? Ligmite?
Lignite.
So how big was it?
About 110 pounds.
Oof.
According to Denise Sue, who this is why I was so excited to learn about this, because the that I read about and whose YouTube video I watched, Denise Sue, she's the head of paleobotany and paleoecology at the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. Let's go, Ohio! I love your enthusiasm, guys.
Oh,
Hey, and once you get down to it, everything stems from Ohio. You know,
It
I'll
does.
just throw this out there real quick. You know, if you're a Patreon listener, you know all about the Los Angeles lizard people. Turns out the dude who is the primary guy looking into this underground city of lizard people was born in Ohio.
Nice.
Yep.
They send Alex and Eli send me Ohio memes all the time too, which is funny.
Ohio has grown too powerful.
It's crazy because I think they put out a press statement that you know when you drive into a state and it says, oh, you're now entering so and so, home of the
Mhm.
whatever. I guess Ohio's gotten a little full of itself now because when you
Oh, no.
drive in, the sign says, "Welcome to Ohio, the cradle of life itself."
Oh jeez. But Denise Sue and the other researchers concluded that this wolf-sized prehistoric creature is 2 to 3 times larger than any modern otter species. And side note, I've mentioned this before, but I was shocked at how big otters actually are. I might have mentioned this in one of our previous like undersea episodes. They're freaking big. Like, I don't know why I thought they were going to be like the size of a squirrel or something. But when I when I went to the Long Beach Aquarium and I saw them for the first time in person, I was like, "Holy crap! Those things are like huge. They're like 2 to 3 feet long." And so this fossil, this bone that they found, it actually wasn't fully intact. It was a little bit damaged, so they ended up scanning it and like reconstructing it with computer graphics and things like that. But it revealed that the animal's teeth had some badger-like features, and that's kind of where the name comes from because it's a nod to the Latin words for badger and otter. Meles means badger, and lutra means otter. And so this creature had a strong bite and could have chomped right through mollusk shells with its powerful jaws. But there are questions that are still unanswered about why the animal was so, how it moved on land and water. Like, they don't know a lot about the creature. They know it exists, but they don't really have all the details about its existence yet.
Yeah.
Studies show it would eat cavemen and fight dinosaurs.
That is what Alex says.
Well, to add on what Jasmine was saying about otter sizes, the current giant otter is about, on average, 3.7 feet in
Mhm.
length and weighing about 53 pounds. So that is half the size of this mega otter from China.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
take a giant otter and multiply it by 2, and then multiply that by 2, and you have a Dobhar-Chu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's pretty
it's
insane,
crazy.
dude. That's a mega otter, dude. That could definitely kill you.
Yup.
It's one of those things too that you never really think about, but when someone says, "Oh yeah, it was a 10-foot prehistoric otter with the bite radius to crush a human skull like a walnut," you say, "Oh boy."
Yeah. So the existence of this prehistoric otter is kind of, similar to a lot of possible explanations for other cryptids we've discussed in the past. Like, what is it? Well, it could be a prehistoric creature that's survived but remained hidden and maybe evolved in some type of way. There's a couple other explanations too. I was wondering if you guys had any. Like, what do you think the Dobhar-Chu is?
It's an otter,
It's an otter.
I
undiscovered
think
species.
it's an undiscovered king otter of a king of an otter kingdom deep below the ground, and they're just waiting to rise up and take over the world again.
Yeah. There's I heard this in a YouTube video. It's also possible that Terrence McLaughlin just scapegoated a piece of Irish folklore and murdered his wife.
Whoa.
Whoa!
But then, like, we've got the blacksmith and stuff. Like, there's people to corroborate his story. Like, I don't know about
Perfect
that.
crime.
Yeah. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, who knows? But I mean, I definitely think there's enough space for a large species of otter,
Mm-hmm.
especially
I mean,
because otters are omnivorous, are they not?
but they're definitely
I
carnivorous
think
because
so.
they
Yeah,
eat
they're
like
definitely carnivorous. They're
fish
probably
and
omnivorous.
mollusks and
Here, let's look it up.
clams. Oh, because otters, you know what they do when they eat is they grab little scallops and clams,
Mm-hmm.
and then they grab a rock and they put it on their belly while they float on their back, and they just smash the shell mollusk till it cracks open. They eat it.
Yeah.
So imagine a 10-foot tall Dobhar-Chu doing that to a grown person.
Oh no.
They lean carnivorous, but I mean, I guess if they're going hungry, they can eat plants and survive.
Yeah, they eat seaweed and other aquatic plants.
But it's not their go-to, just so you
Correct.
know.
Correct.
You know, so if it can eat a human, it will eat a human
Mm-hmm.
before eating the perfectly good seaweed next to your mangled corpse.
Ain't that always the way? We have
Yeah.
all this nice seaweed laying around, and you keep wanting to order takeout.
Well, that's about all I got on the Dobhar-Chu. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to add?
No, that's about all I got.
Looks
Yeah.
like it. We covered the meaning of the many names, if you will, the legends, the lore, the myths.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the campfire.
Yeah, we're glad to be back, guys. I hope that your summer is going as well as it possibly can during all of this craziness.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean this episode's kind of special because it's the kickoff of Tome 6.
Is it really? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Uh,
Are we
guess we
counting
could say.
Summer of Champ as a tome or not? Did we discuss?
Yeah, we already discussed this.
Oh, oh my.
But I mean, if we're being really technical, the Alabama White thing was the kickoff of Tome 6. But
Oh, was it?
yeah, we're like 4 episodes into Tome 6 now, or at least I
Oh.
am.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
Eli's
oh,
been
dang.
doing some solo work to keep us running while I look for a job and try to survive a pandemic.
Yep. But anyways,
Yeah.
signing off, beginning our sign-offs. You are.
I am Alex Daikaiju, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Alex Daikaiju. That's Alex DAIKAIJU. My Instagram, I post a bunch of monster-related art, and on my Twitter, I post a lot of nonsense-related tweets. So have your pick, my friends. And I would be remiss if I did not state my sources today. I used irishcentral.com and I used the Dreadnought Wikipedia. And You know, they say there's a million stars in the sky at any given time, but here on Earth we got our very own star, Jasmine May with Take It Away.
Thanks. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, although I will say I've been on social media very much lately. I will still get a notification if you like at me or DM me or something like that, but I'm not posting very frequently right now. My name is Jasmine Maywith on both, JasmineMaywith. My sources today also include Irish Central, as well as YouTube user Nurchin, Mental Floss, the Journal of Royal Society of Antiquaries of Ireland, via something called JSTOR, which is a digital library of academic journals, books, and primary sources that I signed up to get access to. Coffee and Creatures, Unknown Explorers, Sligo Heritage, The Beasts That Hide from Man, Seeking the World's Last Undiscovered Animals by Carl Schuker via Google Books.
That's our boy.
A choreographical description of West Connaught, written in 1684 via Google Books, National Geographic, and NPR.
Woohoo. Thank you. And usually I would say something like, oh, to Eli Watson, what's there to say? But today's something special because not only do we have Eli, but he's also possessed by the ghostly spirit of Stephen James Myers.
Stephen's not dead, guys.
He's residing inside the body of Eli. Please tell us all about your strange paranormal activities.
Yes, I will tell you all about them. Thank you very much. My sources today come from Wikipedia, CryptoWiki, and gotta go to our boy Carl Schuker, Beasts That Hide from Man, Seeking the World's Last Undiscovered Monsters, irishcentral.com. Some WRFM, torystories.blogspot.com, and Sligo Heritage. Yes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. It helps us out a lot. Also, if you guys are such big fans by this amazing King of the Otters episode, go check out our website, cryptidcampfire.com. Get yourself a Cryptid Campfire t-shirt, only $20 plus $3 shipping and handling. Boom, right to your door. You don't even have to get up to do it.
You don't even have to look away from your computer screen.
Nope. You can do it on your phone too. Also, check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are at Cryptid Campfire on all 3. I hope we're fairly easy to find. We share cryptid memes, cryptid facts, cryptid images, and videos sometimes. And we hope you enjoy those as well. And if you guys seriously still like us and can't get enough of us even after all of that, check out our Patreon. That's for $5 a month. You can get access to a bunch of exclusive episodes. We try to do one Patreon exclusive every week at this point, it seems like, but you're going to get at least 2 a month, as well as a wonderful wallpaper designed by our boy Alex Daikaiju.
That is correct. I will draw a special wallpaper once a month for the Patreon peoples.
Absolutely. And we're working on more. So, with all that, we'll bid you adieu and have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
This podcast is a part of Straight Up Strange Productions. Discover more shows like this one at straightupstrange.com.